Kakati, my husband allowed another man to slap me.
Allowed.
So last week, went out clubbing. I met some of my girls in the club, and at one point, my husband went to the toilet. And while we were waiting at the bar with my girlfriends, a man came over and offered to buy me a drink.
Buy you a drink.
So as a team player, I said only if he buys one for my girls too. So he bought a bottle of tequila. Then he asked for my number. That's when I told him politely, I have a husband.
Who is currently in the toilet?
He did not like that. So he started pressing me for my number. When I
That says
refused,
pressing.
he got aggressive. He called me a black
Ooh. Was he white?
I saw red and slapped him across the face. He slapped me back. I fell to the floor. At that point, my husband walked back from the toilet. I thought, okay, my husband is going to defend me. But I was very wrong. Instead of confronting the man, my husband stepped in front of me and started telling me to calm down, trying to de-escalate the situation, telling the guy we are not looking for any trouble. Imagine he even had the cheek to tell me I made things worse by slapping him first, as if this man did not just slap a woman. He said if he'd fought the guy, he would have been arrested, lost his job, and then how would he pay the bills? I stood there in shock and embarrassed in front of my girlfriend. The man who promised to protect me in front of God and my family didn't raise a single finger. I'm considering divorce. I've seen this man fight guys for much less, and now I'm feeling like he chose his career over my safety.
Nobody should be raising their hands to hit anybody.
But when a woman slaps you, yeah, it might spite, but a man's got more strength.
That's cap. My girl slaps you, you're going to feel it.
We hear this a lot, like in defense of a man shouldn't ever hit a woman, and it completely ignores the fact that she started the engagement, or she can use weapons, or there's force multipliers. It's a silly thing to sort of hold on to this idea, this weird chivalry, this weird masculine. Listen, no one should put their hands on anyone. Full stop. Right, and if you do, whomever, you have to understand that the reality is someone may just hit you back. It's not a time like it was before when you had carte blanche to do whatever you want with the men. No, 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 no. Especially young generation, they have no problem retaliating in kind in that way. But to this video, to this point, there are different forms of protection rather than the way we consider them simply being physical. That if you need to be defended, it has to be in a physical, violent sort of sense. Sometimes the best defense is de-escalation. If we can do that before blows are started, even the better. But like she was saying at the end, I'm considering getting divorced. I think she should absolutely get divorced, because if she's in the habit of putting a man in a position where he has to physically fight to defend you from something that you initiated, that you could have de-escalated from the very stop, save that man. Listen, before we do a deeper dive into this, like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss new uploads. And I like this. I chose this topic just because when we're talking about protection, especially when it comes to relationships, intergender protection, we've become so fixated on it being a physical aspect. In reality, the best defense is going to be you removing yourself from situations that have the potential to go left. Before any of these things can happen, you want to already be aware of them and remove yourself from that situation. A lot of times, I this is a lot more common than having to, in general, for most people, from depending on your socioeconomic class, most of the time, this is going to be the way you protect others, your family, your loved ones. I'm talking for men. You're aware of the scene. We tend to have better spatial awareness for threats, especially around us. We should be able to see these things as the play develops and say, I need to remove myself and my loved ones from this, rather than testing my metal against some other man. And I know that has some sort of romantic sort of connotations behind it. And it feels like, wow, that's my man throwing his life in harm's way for me. And there's a certain perverse sort of love for that. But the reality is, especially men, as you grow, as you build your career, your wealth, you have a lot more to lose. You have a lot more to lose and a lot more responsibility. People counting and relying on you for what you can produce, for what you currently do for them. And you're risking that, right? And something that's not a life or death thing. Life or death, yeah, you have to throw down. That's absolutely. But in a situation of his wife's making, you accepted When the guy first came up to you, you didn't first start with, I have a husband. I'm flattered. Thank you. But I have a husband. Full stop. You let him on enough to where you can get him to buy a bottle. And if it's anything like United States, and I know, from the accent, they're not from the United States, but if it's anything the club scene, club culture, that bottle is at a completely inflated price. So you were happy for him to spend his money on you and your girlfriends, then to turn around, hey, no, I have a husband. He would not have engaged in any of that behavior if you first started with that. Maybe he would have tried to press you some more, and you could have probably firmly said no. Um, that, but you made him spend the money on the bottle so your friends and you can have the drink, and then you try to curb him because this is kind of what is supposed to be expected. This is the cool thing to do. Um, this is what's happening, right? You got one over him, and you've got a man to defend you, so you thought it was all gravy. Why else would you go and slap a man after he insulted you? That type of behavior right there. He used words to insult you, called you what you called you, and then you put your hands on him without thinking that he could be one of these men that simply hit you right back, hit you right back. And then you expect your husband to come in there and say, okay, let me chase bad money with good money, and let me now jump in and now physically. No, the best thing I do for you is to de-escalate and get this out of here. Would if that was my wife, would I be telling her that you shouldn't have done this right then and there in public? No. I would have got you out of the situation first, because ultimately that's my concern, protecting you. Protecting you does not mean I physically have to trounce another man. That means I have to protect you from sometimes from your own actions. That's what the unsexy part of protection looks like. Protection provision looks like. I need to remove you from the scenario right here because, for whatever reason, it's so emotionally charged. You can't see where your culpability is in this. And if that means in this form of protecting you, that means we ultimately have to get a divorce. So be it, because this is just sort of behavior that this is the best thing I could do. Would I have the motivation being I could lose my job? Then how could I pay the bills? That's what men are often thinking. I would have personally been like, I need to protect you because you put your hands on this man and he hit you back. You have something in you that's comfortable with throwing down with men. This one, I'm looking at this and saying, I could be him next time. Or it could be some other stranger, some other person that's a lot less forgiving and simply going to slap you back. If he's going to up the ante and there's going to be something in his hands, or you're comfortable doing this when I wasn't even around. There's so many red flags indicating that this person is not your person. My thought process is your person's not going to put you in danger. My thought process is you've given up that life of fighting in bars or fighting at the drop of a dime and realize you have a wife, you have things, you have people that are relying on you. That's the sort of calculus I think that happens in a lot of men's head. If I do this activity, the everyone that relies on me, that thing I could lose. I used to have a Yamaha R1, motorcycle, right? When I was younger. And every riding season I would get more and more reckless. Just more and more reckless, right? White lining. This is in New York City, right? Greatest city on the planet, arguably. But I would white line more and more, fast and faster. And I recognized the recklessness of it, right? And I knew what I had one more season in me before I'd I'd probably kill myself, right? So I also had my brother had this mechanic that would always help him for free on a car that I gave him, and I love that that type of loyalty. So there's one time I'm giving him a ride back home, and he saw my bike, and he was like, "Wow, that's an amazing, you know, bike." It was black and had orange, panels on it. It looked great, and I was like, "Oh, do you want it?" Right? And he's like, "You serious? Like, how much?" I said, "No, you've done right by my brother. Here it is. Tell me when you're ready to pick it up." Was more than happy to do that because I knew if I kept it, what would happen. Men often have to project in the future and say, if I engage in this, the people relying on me are now in danger. This action, it may feel good, but I know it's reckless. I have to, stop this. My mom always said prevention is better than cure, right? I know my mom didn't invent that, relax. But in that sense, that's what men have to do a lot of times with people around them. Before this can escalate in the direction we know it can becomes untenable, becomes dangerous for everyone involved. And it's not just her, right? In that scenario, she's out there with her friends. He's also responsible. What's the most efficient way, the safest way of de-escalating this? Because I have no idea who else is with that man. I have no idea if things escalate, whomever can come, and now we're all in a brawl. It's not just me, not just him. It's all of you in danger now. The best bet is to de-escalate this. Remove everyone from the situation. Go back home. Right? I'd even have, oh, he bought the bottle. I say, yeah, here's money for that. Right? Let's leave this alone. Let's go about our business. Let's leave this place. But if you have this expectation that your man is supposed to physically jump in and fight every person that you feel has wronged you, regardless of what your your hand in that, right? Get it, hand slap, then there is a fundamental problem here, and it's not really just with the husband. But if you think I missed something, let me know down in the comments below. If you see videos on your screen right now, go ahead and take a look at those. And of course, if you listen to a sound of voice after my rant in for 11, 12 minutes, you haven't subscribed, come on, right? Join the party. I'll see you guys in the next one.